if I had the opportunity to do it at the time I did it, would I start now?
Of course. Yeah.
No.
Right.
Insane. Every number you find anywhere is worthless. If you're a dentist and you think like this is still the modern day equivalent of, flipping a house in Wellesley, you're out of your mind. Yeah.
You shouldn't be allowed to open your second store if you can't pay your bills. Never mind your fourth, fifth, or sixth. I'm Jason Reposa. After 25 years in tech and cannabis, I host High Functioning to show it actually works. Today's guest is Mark Rosenfeld, CEO and co-founder of CommCan, the original family-run cannabis company. Mark is a local, an attorney turned operator who never chased hype and still outlasted most of the people who did.
Your ability to obtain a new license should be linked to your ability to pay your old debts or something to that effect. Long-term success is entirely dependent on controlling the process from start to finish.
We get into what he would do today if he was to start over in cannabis, why most market data is worthless, and how he ended up growing for cookies.
If you don't have the answer, don't make it up.
Don't make it up.
Whatever you do, don't make it up.
This is Real Strategy Over Hype. Let's dive in. Chew, wait, hope. Hard pass. Pocket uses micro and nano emulsification, so effects show up in about a quarter hour. It's the gummy experience without the gummy lag. Pocket your chill and keep moving.
My name is Mark Rosenfeld. I am the co-founder and CEO of CommCan, the Commonwealth Cannabis Company. We are Massachusetts' oldest family-owned and operated cannabis company.
You mentioned co-founder, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So who's your co-founder?
My brother and my sister. Everything we've ever done has been the three of us. So various roles within this particular concern, but everything is my brother and my sister and I.
Yeah, because you also had mentioned right before the pod that like your family kind of built this industrial park.
Yeah.
So it's very much family driven organization. And so when you think about family, not to skip too far into the future, but like, are you already thinking about succession planning for like CommCan?
No, because it's I grew up with that.
Okay.
So I felt compelled, not in an overt negative, in any sort of negative way, but I always felt compelled we're going to continue on, we're going to be the next generation that does sort of the family business, which was real estate, construction and development. And so I've been pretty cautious not to sort of lay that on the next generation.
Oh, interesting. So there's pros and cons to everything.
For sure.
So it's really just being tied, I guess, to your siblings in a sense. And then you want to be able to figure out, like, you don't want to necessarily put that burden on today.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to, this isn't an old line industry. So it's hard to understand what it'll look like. I mean, when we started, there was no guarantee that it was going to be anything.
Right. Right. I do want to get into that though, because like, how did it start? I know I have spoken to Ellen before about kind of like a little bit of the history.
High Functioning isn't your average cannabis podcast. It's where business, wellness, and culture collide with honest convos from people actually doing the work. Tap in at High Functioning Show and hit subscribe so you don't miss a drop. Now, back to the episode.
So like, what was the impetus? Like, what decided even to get into the industry? Because you do have this kind of like this legacy in this area, even of like, the industrial park and, all your construction and stuff like that businesses.
Yeah. So
you guys are actually trained, like educated as attorneys? I would say
I'm an attorney.
You're an attorney.
Yeah.
There's an attorney.
Yeah.
And your brother is running the construction side.
Yeah. So my brother and my sister and I are both attorneys. My brother's not. But, so we've been real estate developers for a long time. We've slowed down considerably on that. We don't build single family homes currently. We don't do subdivisions anymore. The construction side of the company is very small at this point. We still have commercial property that we manage. but all local stuff. I mean, we're just, we're from here. We're from the immediate area.
We are.
Like we're the locals.
Yeah, very much locals. And so what was getting back to the original question, what was the impetus? What was like the change in the family dynamic that you were like, let's try this?
So we were ready to sort of move a little bit from what we had done for, a couple of generations, which sort of the crux of it all would be single family home subdivisions, right? That's basically that was sort of the driving thing that we did. And we saw sort of a change coming where it was harder and harder for an operation our size to be able to sort of feed the next generation, right? So
because of external,
we weren't a Toll Brothers or a Pulte or that kind of stuff, and we also weren't a one-off guy who could just go, flip a house and feed himself, right? We had my brother and I both have kids, and so we started kind of to look outside that. Of course, we just sort of were originally looking in terms of real estate, because that's what we did. We built and developed and managed properties. Without taking too much of this short time we have together to go into all of the details of it, we own property in this industrial park. We got it
to this day.
We do, yeah. And so the way everything works in Massachusetts and in a lot of the country, but Massachusetts is particularly stringent, is zoning, right? So this, and some of your viewers will know this, is that you can't just build whatever you want wherever you want. The town has to tell you where you can build certain types of uses. And so if you have a particularly controversial use, right, they will find a home for you, and it'll typically be tucked away in the back of an industrial park on the edge of town, right? And so I've talked about this before, the way some towns, not every town, was super well versed in zoning regulations. So a number of years ago, a couple of operators tried to open adult entertainment spots, right? Strip clubs. And they looked at a town and they said, okay, well, this is an allowable use. Where could I open in this particular town? The big cases were Mendon and Milford, right around here. And the town said, woo, we don't want you.
Right.
So we're just not going to create a spot for you. No spot for you means you can't come. But unfortunately, that's not how zoning works. Zoning says that if it's an allowable use, you have to make a spot for it. You have a spot for it. You can make it by way of, it can't be, it doesn't have to be as of right. It could be as what they call a special permit process. But you got to have a spot.
Yeah.
So these operators that wanted to open strip clubs said, well, this is how zoning really works. We're going to find something that's similar to us, and then that will be what we use as our zoning. So they said, well, we have food, we have entertainment. We're kind of like a bar, a restaurant, nightclub, that kind of stuff. Lo and behold, the towns had spots for those. Now, they were downtown. You know what I mean? They were in their business district 1 or whatever you want to call it, commercial A, right? And so lawsuits everywhere. And, you have to have a spot for it. So now, the one in Milford didn't work out. I think the one in Mendon did. So then we passed the Compassionate Care Act in Massachusetts. Now we have medical marijuana, medical cannabis. And again, where do you put it? Where do you put it?
Yeah.
Towns learned their lesson. They said, okay, we're going to
practice.
We got a spot.
Yeah.
And they stuffed them all in the back of industrial parks, right? Well, lo and behold, we have land in an industrial park at the back of an industrial park at the edge of town.
Yeah.
So now we have the property, which we saw was going to be the sort of the major hurdle, right?
And which we later found out that the landlords of buildings in these places immediately they were like, game on, green tax, twice as much.
Right. Well, first you had to find somebody that would even do business with you.
Right.
Right.
Mortgages are also one of those things where if the mortgage is on it, the mortgage company would be like, hey, I'm going to call your note or whatever. I don't know what they would do.
That's right. That's right. They called the note. In fact, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
So for those of you following along at home, what Jason's talking about is you can't, banks, mortgage holders won't let you pay the mortgage with dirty, filthy cannabis money. So you can't go, let's say you finally find a building that's zoned correctly, you have a landlord that's willing to, now this is back, again, it's
2016.
This is, we filed paperwork in 2015, so that's right when we started looking. Now, to say that there's been a seismic shift is sort of an understatement. People wouldn't talk to you.
Right.
No interest in talking to you. Towns didn't want to talk to you for the most part. Most landlords wanted nothing to do with you. But let's say you found the landlord that wanted something to do with you. He had to own the building outright.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so in some of these industrial parks, they're owned by REITs, the real estate investment trusts. Nobody owns anything 100%. So you had to find them. So we had the property. And so we went out sort of in search of an operator. We'll build it. We'll build it.
You're in construction.
We'll build it. We'll be the landlord.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll help with the approval process, with the town and all that kind of stuff. And so we started on this journey of trying to find an operator. And it quickly became apparent that nobody knew what they were talking about. So we looked at each other and we said, well, fuck, we don't know what we're talking about. You're going to be like, maybe we can, and maybe this is something we should explore a little bit further. And then, one thing led to another. We ended up meeting a guy named Jamie Sipe, who's our head of cultivation, and really so much more than that. And that sort of kicked it off. And we started the process.
And so back then you had to be vertical. I mean, you still in medical, you have to be vertical, of course, until regulations pass, that it devertifies it. But since you had to be vertical, like you knew from the beginning, you need cultivation, manufacturing, you need a store.
You needed everything. You needed to do everything yourself.
Right.
So you needed a store, right? So now you need a storefront. Now you need a grow. If you want to have concentrates, you need a lab. If you want to have edibles, you need a kitchen. If you want to get product from one place to the other, right? Unless you're co-located, you gotta have transportation to get there. Yeah.
So what the original plan, you already knew going into it that was going to be vertical. If you were to, again, jumping head to the future, knowing what you know now, would you
be vertical? Would I be vertical? Yeah.
Would you do it again, actually?
Yeah, sure. So, would I do it again? Yes. If I had the opportunity to do it at the time I did it. Would I start now?
Of course. Yeah.
No.
Right.
Insane.
Right. You'd be insane to start
the people now that are halfway through their builds should stop immediately and be thankful they're only halfway through.
Exactly. You raised money, paid the money back to the investors, walk away.
And I'm going to sound like an asshole, right? Which, that's fine. I'm prepared. And I don't mean it condescendingly, and I don't mean it in a negative way. If you have if you have a plan, a clear plan, and, let's say, you've been a cultivator all your life, and this is what you want to do, and you have a way to make it happen. Fine. You're a operator, you're a retail operator, and you have, you really understand the numbers and what you're going to do and all that kind of stuff. Fine. You're a manufacturer, you have manufacturing expertise. You understand what your costly inputs are, all that kind of stuff. Great. But, if you're a dentist and you think like this is still the modern day equivalent of, flipping a house in Wellesley, you're out of your mind.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense. So would you keep, if you were to start even back, say like then, or maybe would adult use kind of flipped, would you still be vertical?
Yes.
Because the margins are just way better because you own the whole.
Yeah, because Yeah, I would. Yes, I think long-term success. Again, we have to determine how you're measuring success. But for us, long-term success is entirely dependent on controlling the process from start to finish, and partnering. Right? We carry your products as well. Partnering with groups that do good work and fit into our menus. Right? But yeah, to be wholly dependent, you could say, well, right now might be a good time to just have a retail. And if somebody was asking what column, if I was going to start today, right? And we have the three sort of main pillars of cultivation, which is growing plants, manufacturing, which is processing the plant into
Finished goods.
Yeah, Pheno concentrates, vapes, edibles, or retail.
Yeah.
Then I would say retail right now is where I would.
Is there asterisks or caveat that it has to be the right location?
But the right location doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to everybody. Mm-hmm. But what I'll say is that may seem like it's a good thing right now, right? Because you have cultivators that are going out of business and offering products for below what it costs to manufacture them. And you can take advantage of that, right? If you have cash and you can actually pay your bills, which very few people are capable of doing. But that's going to change, right? When we chase, when we condition people to just chase down to the bottom, and then a year later, their only options are, the investor-backed MSOs. And then once they control, essentially the entirety of the market, they're not going to keep their prices at that giveaway number, right? And there's not going to be significant competition to keep them in check. So again, I come at it from a different point of view, right? I come at it as somebody who entered this with no preconceived notion with no exit strategy. You know what I mean? The exit strategy is, we're going to run this for as far as I can see into the future. You know what I mean?
Is that the current still strategy?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, now, it started off as it's funny. It started off as a, I don't know if I'd call it a strategy. That makes it sound
well thought out,
better than it is, right? That's what it started as, when there were options. You know what I mean?
Right.
We could have found a way to get out. You know what I mean? Back when things were going up. Now it's just what it is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The mature is even as feet.
It's a confusing time. I would say we're far from being mature.
Yeah.
But we're past the point where really, really dumb / opportunistic money is coming in.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. To fuel the next level of ambitions to your phase 2, phase 3 plans.
Right. So what we had to deal with at the beginning, right? So we were operational in 2018. So we filed everything in 2015 and, full-time building everything out and licensing and all that kind of stuff. But I think the first sales started in 2018, I want to say.
Because what I'm getting to is really about, like, what would people do today, if you were to start over? But I also think about, like, there's you brought up a bunch of things. You brought up wholesale. You brought up, kind of hinted almost at, like, what do you do in the future with license cap regulation stuff, which I do want to get to eventually. So when it comes to, I guess, the vertical integration, if you were to actually start over again, even today, you potentially would have retail as the forefront focus if you had an actual strategy, right?
Yeah, I would say it's the easiest way for somebody to enter right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
How much do you think it would cost you to start a retail nowadays?
I don't know. They were throwing around $1 million. I don't know if that's accurate or not. It depends, right? It depends. What are you doing? Are you I've walked into some dispensaries that spent way too much money on their build out. You know what I mean? I've walked into some dispensaries and it's like they have not spent any money on their build out, right? I think there needs to be somewhere in the middle, but yeah, it's certainly it's the least capital intensive, right? You're not really buying equipment. You're buying, you could open a retail with one point of sale. You know what I mean? And sort of moderate, and even the build outs themselves. I mean, when we started, it was, I mean, the first retail operators that opened, when they said that you needed a vault to store product in, they hired fucking vault companies.
Yeah, they're like, you mean thick steel plates.
They hired like the same companies that built bank vaults.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you don't need to.
No.
You know what I mean? And it's even like
nowadays.
Right. And but even when we were doing it, I had one town where, the chief required cinder block walls and expanded metal wire mesh, throughout and all that kind of stuff, because they were going to drop in from the ceiling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we got that same.
Yeah, and I think it's very different.
It's easy.
No, yeah.
Because the skies had fallen still. So let's talk about the license cap stuff real quick, because I think you've got a really genuinely great take on this. I read it on LinkedIn, and you can repeat it yourself. But how do you feel about the license cap increase conversation going from 3 to 4, 5, 6 over the following 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're referring to, the only reason I know what you're referring to when you say LinkedIn is because I think I've made 3 comments on LinkedIn in my entire life, because it's turned into another fucking Reddit cesspool of horseshit, where you find yourself, you're almost ready to start arguing, with again, I am, because I at the risk of being labeled a condescending prick, I don't need to have a constitutional law argument with somebody who's never studied constitutional law. Right. You know what I mean? Okay. I don't need to convince somebody. Who cares? Like, these people, they're doing the best they can.
Sure.
And it's fine. Like, it's wonderful.
And it gets trolls everywhere.
Yeah. And they're right. And it's even that, right? Again, they're just people. Right. They're just people. Just
they're fun. They're trying to get at people, stuff like that.
Sure. But again, it's a function of, right? It's a function of their personal circumstances. It's a function of how they were raised. It's a function. I can't first of all, I can't be concerned, and I can't. Yeah, they might.
But they genuinely believe that.
Maybe.
What to say, right?
Yeah,
actually,
maybe. So, but again, like, let's, I'll show them some grace. Like, it doesn't. Nothing that is written online, no comment, no anything. Really, I've not seen one thing written online that has had any impact on any operator,
convince them to change their mind about something,
or has led to people not going to an operator to a store, right, or has made them support different. It's a very, very it feels like it's a bigger community than it is, and there's great people mixed in, right, that have a ton of insight. But yeah, you'll have somebody with a PhD, making some sort of point, and then you got 20 comments under
about how
people think like all the comments are worth the same amount, they carry the same weight, and they don't.
Yeah,
and that's okay. Right. It's fine.
So here's the one valuable thing that I found in your comment. So you want to repeat your comment?
I think oh, sorry. Yeah, I got sidetracked. I think what you're saying is I made some kind of comment that, your ability to obtain a new license should be linked to your ability to pay your old debts or something to that effect. Right.
And I think that's very true, because I don't know how you enforce that. And I know the CCC has started talking about, do we have the ABCC's version for the cannabis industry, which is like basically an allow list or deny list, where it's just like, if they don't pay you within, I don't know the number now, I looked at it, like 60 days, then they go on some kind of deny list and they have to pay COD for everything.
Right. Which so I think is a general idea. Awesome. Great. You mean that's great, because every new person that calls me, doesn't call me, but calls our wholesale manager, Shan. Hi, Shan. We immediately go to their menu, right? It's one of the perks of, being in it for a while is that I know a lot of other owners. And so we'll see what's on their menu, and then I will just call them.
Right.
And I will say, hey, I just got an order from so-and-so. Do they pay you? Have they paid you? Are you, right? So internally, we kind of already have this list.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I know who doesn't pay or who hasn't paid me. I know who I don't do business with because I know they don't pay people that I know. So I think it is a big picture thing. I think it's a great idea, right? As an attorney, I would caution that it can't just be your word saying that somebody didn't pay you. It has to be adjudicated in some way, right? Yes, if they come to the CCC with a judgment from a district court, right? Because most of this stuff falls under small claims. I think small claims is up to $7,000, and if it's not, you actually have a lawsuit. You don't just stay in small claims. You actually, you file. But I think if you have that to fall back on, then I would be super comfortable with having that sort of a list.
Because it does seem like, exactly. So I don't know how the ABCC version of this works.
Yeah.
I do think about those things where it's like, if you were to base the license cap increases on the fact if they're paying or not, it might be a part of the consideration.
Right. I don't think it's based on it. The framework, I don't have a problem with the framework as it's, currently laid out. I think that would be a fair thing to add on to it, right? I mean, the CCC considers the applicant, right?
And the solvency in a sense too, because if you can't pay your bills, then how long do you have with this work?
Right. And I don't really want them looking into, my future.
Right.
I don't think you're gonna stay in business that much longer. We shouldn't give you a license. That's not their purview. But a going concern looking to add another location, absolutely, they should part of this.
You're already at 3 at this point when you're thinking about going to 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. But hey, let's do it from 1 to 2. Let's do it from 1 to 2. You have operational history after 1.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, we're not getting extra views just because of my hot take on this. Like, this is 5, but 9
extra people, and they all kind of that makes a ton of sense. And of course, we're taking them for the producer or manufacturer's perspective.
Sure.
Because we don't have retail. We can't do recips or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So for us, it's really just like they either have to pay us or we have to go to small claims.
Yeah.
Or we have to badmouth them behind the seat. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't do any of that stuff, but
we'll go to small claims.
Yeah.
As soon as they stop answering your calls, go to small claims. Yeah. If there weren't
CCA or something like that,
what is the
agency?
No, for what?
Well, it's just because they also keep their own list. So when it's self-reported data.
Yes.
And they'll take your receivables and they'll be like, all right, how, the aging on the receivables. And they'll be like, all right, so on average, this store is behind by 65 days on all their payments.
Okay.
So CCA, I would check it out just as maybe as interesting kind of side point.
Yeah.
If you're into cannabis, entrepreneurship, or just like hearing from people who actually build things, check out High Functioning. It's real talk with founders, operators, and big thinkers. No fluff, just game. And you can subscribe and listen at highfunctioning.show. All right, let's get back to the show.
You mean that's a group that operators are using to determine if they should sell to somebody, or that's a group that tries to collect on their behalf?
They do have a side arm which is collecting.
Yeah.
But we don't use any of that, but we do look at the data that's been reported by other manufacturers.
Yeah.
Anybody who's in wholesale anyways, that says hey, here's my receivables.
Sure. Do you pay them for that?
Stores. It's like $200 a month.
Okay. Yeah.
It's nothing crazy.
You could also
to just look.
Yeah. And you could also just look at their goddamn menu and call me and find out if they're paying.
Yeah. How do you, so as far as your wholesale list, do you have tons of outstanding debt? Is it why?
No,
but you're so in tune with it, you don't.
No, we did. And then we changed some things.
Yeah.
No, we have a very, very tight AR receivables list. Yeah, no, it's shockingly up to date. Yeah.
How do you? So that's one way you approach it. But I guess taking it from the other side, on the retail side of things, What do you look for in, say, actually retail? Would you go to 4 stores right away?
Sure.
Would you go to 5 and 6?
Sure.
Preceding years?
Yeah.
Because
I know how to open and operate retail stores at this point. You know what I mean? We control our own supply. And we have strong teams in place. So I have an incredible HR. I have great, retail store management. Yeah, absolutely.
Looking at different towns, either?
I haven't just because, I mean, sure, 40,000 foot view. Yes.
There's some areas.
I'd be interested maybe in this sort of area, but that's sort of twofold, right? It's a function of, do I know anybody, involved in that town? You know what I mean? Do I know town council? Do I know anybody? Do I know what they're looking for? We've done a very good job of only going places that we were explicitly wanted,
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is fight with the town about being there.
That doesn't do us any good.
Yeah, because I hear about towns all the time, like Waltham was big. Because everyone's like, oh, when's the first store that's going to be in Waltham?
I was going to be the first store in Waltham.
Oh, were you?
Yes.
Oh my God, everybody's
like, shout out to the longtime mayor over there. So I spent a lot of time in Waltham. I undergraded and then went to grad school in two different ends of Waltham, and so that was one of our first spots that we looked, and we had a location, and the town was completely unreceptive. The town was very receptive to it. The mayor was completely unreceptive to it. And so, yeah, it's sort of a microcosm of what I did in every municipality, which was, first you had to find, right? This is back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's crazy, but 10 years is 6 lifetimes ago in this particular industry here. And I'm sure that's true in a million different industries, but this is the only one I know. So, you'd go to City Hall and you'd try to find your zoning map.
Yeah.
Well, the zoning map department is in a different building that they don't. So you finally figure, then you got to find where to go within it. So I remember exactly where I went and who I talked to. Somebody who nobody has ever knocked on their wall
right now.
Yeah. And so found that. I remember walking into a building that I knew was zoned correctly, but it had no front door, no office, right? There was a door open on it was sort of built into a hill. I walked into what was actually the second floor, and I'm walking through a darkened warehouse, just breaking and entering straight out. Yeah, I'm like, oh. And I ended up knowing the guy. A guy comes around the corner, and I know the guy. It was insane. Yeah. It was a guy. We have a little like coin-op laundromat, and it was the guy that sold us the washers and dryers.
Oh, nice.
And he owned another building that was in that same zone. So we had a place locked up, and so then I would go almost every day to try to talk to the mayor, and I would sit in City Hall. And I would just sit in a chair like this, and I would just stare at these women who absolutely did not want to make eye contact with me, and
waiting for your turn,
just waiting, and they're probably not going to be able to see you today. Okay, well, I'll just wait in case something happens. And then nobody would talk to me. And I'd go back the next day. Nobody would talk to me. I'd see the mayor walk by. Hi, mayor. I'm just waiting. Okay, yeah. And then it culminated in me being CC'd on an email that I was not supposed to be CC'd on. Saying nobody from this town talks to this guy. We are not interested in having cannabis in our civic. And
we're CC'd on that.
Yeah, I was CC'd. So I wrote back and I was like, "Hey, Madam Mayor, please come on."
I'm not going to bite your head off.
Yeah. So, but we work with a guy now. We wholesale. That's supposedly close to opening a shop there, shop there, and
But that's what I think about. I think about Waltham. I think about like Superior. Talk about some of these towns, stuff like that. People think about the city a lot, but that's been a mixed bag. Yeah, I'll say this in the city. But so you would go 4, 5, and 6. But when you think about like the expansion, how many stores do you think should exist in Massachusetts? I mean, not a huge state. It's big enough that it's a pain in the butt to travel from P-Town to
I think,
West.
yeah, I think it's hard. I'm not prepared to give a store cap number. Again, the state has left that up to individual municipalities to determine.
Yeah, based on store counts.
I think from a regulatory standpoint, that's not the danger of losing the industry. The danger
Retail.
opening more retail is not the danger. No, that's not. No, because good operators will do well and bad operators won't. It's the production side. It's the cultivation side.
How would you solve that?
Well,
Caps. They actually just said that memo out, actually, didn't they?
well, yeah. Well, they've talked about tier relegation from day one.
Yeah.
It's never happened.
I think that was in the memo, right?
Yeah, I think something new came out.
If you don't sell 75% of your material, 80% of your material, you kind of go down to the next tier.
Right. Yeah. Tier relegation. It's built into the original reg.
It's really about them enforcing.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, there also has to be, and again, this will come off as an operator trying to limit a competition, which I think in part that's true. But that's not really the point of it. The point of it is we have to learn. I think Massachusetts did the right thing when they rolled out the program the second time. The first time under Governor Patrick, where it was, you're going to put in your application. It's going to be graded on some criteria that you do not get to know what that criteria is. And at the end of the day, we're going to tell you who wins and who gets to be part of the industry, and everybody else, you're shit out of luck and go find something new to try. That was bad, right? Then Governor Baker came in and revamped the program and pushed that bottleneck down to the municipal level, where now you had to get a letter of support and non-opposition, which in and of itself was completely corrupted by the municipalities. It was never supposed to be them determining if, you had a right to exist. It was just that you were going to open in a spot that they had deemed zoningly correct, for you. But in terms of where the risk is now, the risk is following in the ways of other states that, so
like Oklahoma.
It's like, but Oklahoma was a shit show. Yeah, well, Oklahoma was immediately taken over by
Legacy Market, or
I don't know if you called Chinese mafia legacy market, then sure.
Think about all the problems that they've had, obviously. But
Oklahoma, you could be operational in Oklahoma for $50.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's a disaster of a market. But Michigan's a disaster of a market. Oregon was a disaster of a market. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be completely hands off with an emerging market. I think that what the Governor Baker's administration did was said, listen, we're going to license you if you meet our sort of what we're looking for, our criteria, whatever that may be. But we're not going to hold you up at the state level. You might never get open on a municipal level, but we're not going to hold you up at the state level. So great. But at a certain point, they have to look and say, we're producing more product here than there is a market for already. And so then other people in your comments section might say, well, if you have the best, that's going to be what sells. And if they grow garbage, that's not entirely true, right? Because we've seen it. We've seen these operators that opened up, they applied. There's such a thing as what you were talking about, tier relegation, right? So if you're a tier whatever, and you're licensed for 50,000 square foot of canopy, and you're not selling, they might relegate you to tier 4, tier 4 or tier 3 or tier 3 or whatever, whichever direction it goes in, right? But you could come out of the gate saying you want 100,000 square foot grow.
Let's go all the way. Yeah.
Right. And what happens is that product is going to go somewhere. You know what I mean? Whether that's packed up and shipped out a back door, which I don't think is a real problem in the regulated market in Massachusetts. What is a real problem is just flooding the market and killing small operators, right? And these are not local guys that are doing it, right? These are opportunists coming in and destroying a Massachusetts market. And so, yeah, the good news is that a lot of them have either officially closed their doors or have quietly rolled back, right? So like they might be, they might have 10 flowering rooms, but you talk to somebody and they're flowering 2 of them. You know what I mean? So that's been...
So cultivators is really like where the downfall of the market potentially lies.
Too much product.
Yeah. There's too much product in the market. And so like when it comes, so obviously the backdooring of products, I believe also is not.
That's not a thing. Yeah, that's not a thing. That's a real thing in California. Yeah,
you see all these California products in New York shelves. You're like, where'd this come from?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're using the same package. You know what I mean? They have their packaging shipped to one facility and half to the other facility. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's not a real thing.
I was here right now. I've told this story offline a bunch. I think it's probably been long enough that I can tell it online. But basically, I was at a show not too long ago, and the guy was like, "Oh, there's very well-known brands where there's 2 sides of the company. Sure. And one side of the company, I'm sending 10,000 vape cart, all packaging, just vape carts to that side, and then on the other side, I'm sending 500,000 carts to it.
Yeah.
Empty carts.
Yeah. Well, it was maybe, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. There was a big article on they closed down a place in California that had just that. They had 2 manufacturing facilities. Yeah. You know what I mean? And one was twice the size, and it was just it was not registered with anybody. And then they had their sort of their cover one.
So what happened to Southborough?
Southborough was our first. Just
you had
nobody knows what you're talking about. I'll say. Well, we had Southborough first.
Oh yeah.
So when we started, we were medical only because there was no such thing as the adult use program. Right. We came up under the medical program. So Southborough was our first dispensary location, and it was medical only. So now we have Millis, Rehoboth, and Mansfield, and all of them are co-located medical and rec. Southborough was medical only. It was the 2 things. What happened to Southborough? The punchline is that I moved the license, the Southborough license, I moved to Rehoboth. Right. The reasoning behind it was twofold. One, it proved exceedingly difficult to operate a standalone medical dispensary that you had to staff the same as you know what I mean?
They just wouldn't let you open.
So Southborough banned rec. So that wasn't going to be an option there. And it was hard to justify a standalone medical once rec passed, right? Once adult use passed.
Did you see that immediately?
Huge.
You were like,
absolutely.
It's getting way bigger.
Yeah, well, it just immediately was. And it's not even that it was just bigger. It's just medical dropped off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people stayed, but a lot of people didn't. And adult use sort of took off. The other determinative factor was we're real estate people. We like to control our own land and buildings, and Southborough was the only thing in the mix that we did not own. We leased it from somebody.
No, it's smart. I wish I was in a better financial position because this building's for sale right now.
Yeah.
There's a good chance I could just get booted to the curb.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you guys do?
Yeah.
But so owning the property itself is something that I've already put an offer in on the building, for instance, and they're just like, it's just too low. But I know where all the warts are, and all those reasons are hidden. So I'm just like, it's not really worth you think it's worth.
But how many square feet do you use here?
Oh, it's 18,000. The building's 18,000. We're probably about 8,000 of it, maybe not even less, maybe like 6, 7.
Yeah, but how much do you need?
We don't need all of it. No, because our production facility is 1,800 square feet.
Yeah.
This is all storage back here.
Yeah,
that's because we just needed.
Yeah, I could throw you in a
package.
Yeah, I could throw you in a room.
Yeah, exactly.
In our building.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You used to do the expansion over there too, right?
Yeah.
So, but the point is, it's just like owning your own destiny in a sense, because you guys know real estate. So you guys immediately were like, we got to own this.
Yeah.
What about traffic? Did you guys do a big traffic study? Like, oh my God, there's 20,000 cars that go by this a day.
No, for which spot?
Southborough.
No.
Because when I think...
Well, it's on Route 9.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I think of it immediately. People think like...
So you think that, yeah, right.
Superficially, people think, oh my God,
Sure.
Traffic.
Right.
They're going to stop right into everybody. 1 out of 10 people are going to stop into the store.
Right. Except that it's on a stretch of Route 9 that doesn't have a lot, right where it was, doesn't have a lot of natural slowdown, right?
People flying right by it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not
rear-ended.
It's not easy to pull in there. You know what I mean? No.
I've been there, yeah.
Yeah, we get, it's compared to Millis, right? So Millis is on Route 109, which is a major road. It's it's not Route 9. But it's easily, we were looking for places that had parking, were easily accessible, and weren't hidden. That was sort of our criteria.
You didn't want to be in the back of an industrial park.
No, I didn't want. I mean, we're in a business park in Mansfield, but it's Cabot Forge Business Park. It's a huge. It's not. Right. It doesn't really sort of give industrial park kind of vibes, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Tournaments down.
Yeah, down the road. But yeah, we didn't want to be. We didn't feel like it was the right messaging to sort of be behind a building tucked in where people have to kind of make their way to in the dark,
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that's what I think about if you were going to, so right now there's 400 stores-ish that have been licensed, commenced operations in Massachusetts. There's only probably 200 or so that you want to be in, right? Because the rest of them, so switching to the wholesale side of things, but you're like what kind of presence do you have in the market? I think last time I saw numbers, you guys were doing, I want to say, this is of course, scraped numbers to like Live Alerts.
Yeah. Nonsense, by the way.
It's nonsense.
Throw all of it.
Let's throw it away.
Throw all of it away.
Yeah.
All of the.
Your wholesale numbers are probably close to like 600,000 a month or something like that.
Every number you find anywhere is worthless.
Yeah. It's not good.
No, it's
inferred because it's scraped, right?
Sure. Yeah. It's another word. It's another name for worthless. Worthless data. It's fucking worthless. All of it is absolutely worthless.
Good.
We're doing fine. Yeah, we're doing fine. We're like on 100 shelves, but it's hard. And listen, no disrespect to like we've talked to these guys. We've looked at their, I would love nothing more than to have access to know, what's being sold everywhere, how you're doing, who's,
competitive analysis.
Absolutely. How much money is this guy making? What's she doing over here? All that kind of stuff. And so how do we know if the data is any good? Well, show me the data you have on me. Right. I know what my numbers are.
Right. How close is that?
Let's see where we're at. Okay. Whether you're 5 times too high or 5 times too low, it doesn't matter to me. It's wrong. So what good is the data? The only thing worse than basing, making operational decisions based on no data is making operational decisions based on bad data.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's 100 times worse. Yeah. It's no different than, right. I tell people, and I've said this, whether it's in law or in retail, if you don't have the answer, don't make it up.
Don't make it up.
Whatever you do, don't make it up.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that a lesson you put into your staff?
Oh, absolutely. From day one. If you don't know,
you're like, oh, I'm doing such a great job. We're doing all these things. I actually talked to a brand ambassador the other day who was literally just like, there's this fault with brand ambassadors sometimes. They were like, it was totally worth it to show up to this store. You did a beautiful pop-up. I saw so many people. And in reality they saw like 3 people, but they want to keep their job in a sense. Like, justify their
or it's, I mean, just in terms of a basic human sort of default, nobody wants to say they don't know.
Yeah.
Which is a hard thing to learn. I have no problem. I don't know anything. Fucking anything.
Another quote, snap.
Yeah, 100%. It's great. Absolutely. I'm, it's people don't want to risk seeming like they don't have the answer available. It's fine not to have the answer available if you bother to go find the answer, right? And in a retail setting, that might be, hey, you know what I mean? Hey, have you tried this to another colleague, to another agent at the register next door? Or it could be, I don't know, but here we can look it up real quick.
Right.
Or we can find if it's something like in the manufacturing process that we do or a partner of ours does, we'll get the information and we'll get it to
real source.
Yeah, 100%. It's just don't make it up.
Right.
Don't make it up.
So again, with Little Earth's data, when I look at Little Earth's data and it shows you did like $700,000 a month or so in like wholesale. I mean, retail is a different number and that's much bigger according to the Little Earth's. Like, it's just wrong data and you shouldn't really base anything off.
No. Okay. Then you shouldn't base anything off it. It's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
It's inferred.
Yeah.
Good for you and your inferences. You know what I mean? Like, it's great. I hope they're getting better at it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think there's certain limitations to that model without it.
Yeah.
But like
the limitation is that they don't have the data. Yeah. That's
I don't think they ever will. Headset has point of sale data that they're willing to sell you.
Yeah.
That will be, to the point of sale accurate. And there's only a certain percentage of stores that actually participate in that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if there's like a kickback. Has anybody reached out to you from like BDSA or Headset and be like, hey,
sure,
if you give us if you give us your data, we'll give you like something in return kind of thing.
Yeah. We don't do anything.
Don't do nothing like that.
No.
So nobody's going to know Mark's numbers.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to wholesale, how do you are you guys 80% flower sales, like 90% flower sales in wholesale?
Oh, on wholesale. On wholesale, I mean, I think wholesale skews more flower for us than retail does.
That's what you're known. I know you guys as flower.
Yeah.
Everybody, half my company shop at your store.
Yeah, awesome.
Work and they they grab aids. You guys got great programs.
Awesome. Good. I appreciate that to everybody. Flower drives it, but it drives it for a couple of reasons. One, we do an exceptional job. You know what I mean? We again, I try not to try to balance between, being a cheerleader for the brand and not sort of trying to come across that we do everything better.
Right.
But I think we do. I don't know anybody that does anything better than us. And I would say there's not other operators out there that don't do great jobs in what they do. But for a group that's doing the scale that we do and or any scale, really. I don't know. I haven't come across anybody's stuff that we have a version of that I'm like, oh, this is better than what we do. You know what I mean?
And is your head cultivator kind of like determining the next set of genetics?
Always.
Do you guys always go to the same genetics? How do you do you let some SKUs just fade away?
For sure. Yeah.
How does it?
So if you go on our website, we have we'll have a strain guide on our website that will have, pretty much anything we've ever had in production. And so you'll see the ones that are quote unquote retired.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You guys are always coming up with these new ones.
Yeah.
Marketing is super great on a lot of this stuff too. So I always see like these crazy names show up and I'm like,
yeah. And again, we don't name, right? That's the breeder's job. But yeah, when we have, let's say we have 80 different genetics, 80 different varietals. Okay. You know what I mean? So sour diesel, GMO, Cuban Links, Valley Vixen, right? So 80 different cuts.
Right.
No, we have 16,000 plants alive in the building right now. You know what I mean? Whether it's clone veg, a mother or flower. But we rotate through and we grow, under a couple of different sort of sub brands for us. And then we have a partnership with Cookies. So we cultivate for those guys in Massachusetts as well. Yeah. But yeah, so Jamie's always bringing in sort of, the hottest. So Jamie comes from his sort of formative years in cannabis, where he was a head cultivator at a group called Compassionate Caregivers on the Bay Area, when it was like Compassionate Caregivers in Harborside were kind of the big ones. And so he's got strong ties still out there. And so,
So he's on the hunt.
Always. Yeah. Always.
You try to go to that land race, you kind of go like all that stuff, or you got to just keep it domestic for now, as far as genetics go. You don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Jamie's just out there. He's like in the pots.
Is he in Afghanistan trying to like dig up some fucking plant? No, but nobody is. It's nonsense.
Well, there was a guy who was actually doing it for a while. There were these genetic hunters.
Yeah, it was a TV show.
I was like, the guy died from like dengue or something.
Yeah, but it's a TV show. I mean, there's two guys that are doing ghost stories too. I mean,
right?
It's great. It's entertainment. It's wonderful.
And not to like belittle somebody who's going and doing all those things. He actually ended up dying, and I feel horrible for it. But like, there are people who are doing some of these kind of like more kind of genetic hunts.
Yeah, I mean, it's just finding what the newest and the newest and coolest and best stuff is. And
you listen to the consumers to kind of get any input. Be like, hey, sour diesel, or like, let's go find some more crosses with sour diesel.
So our sour is sort of the strain that if we had a house strain, that would be it. So Jamie's been growing that actual cut of sour for almost 20 years. So there's I can legitimately say for sour fans out there, whether you love it or not, there's that cut doesn't exist anywhere else in Massachusetts. So it's a Sonoma cut. It's not an East Coast, not an AJ. It's not what I mean. It is a very unique cut of sour. But in terms of, do we listen? Like, so we've done something recently. For the most part, no. The people at the counter saying,
being more sour,
or just like some random thing, like we'll take it all into consideration, but no, we determine.
Yeah,
you determine what it is.
Yeah, head cultivation.
But something that we did recently is we did a big Pheno hunt, right? And we dropped like I don't know, 7 maybe strains so far, and we have two main lines, right? We have CommCan, and we have a line called Hello High, and they're how we handle it, how we grow them a little bit, and how we package them are different, and they're two very different price points, right? This CommCan sort of represents what we think is the best flower we can present to you, and Hello High is the best affordable stuff you're going to find on the market, right? Yeah. And what we did was, with this new stuff, we put it in what we call strain hunter packaging, and we're encouraging customer feedback to determine thoughts, right? Sort of experience, flavor profile, all that kind of stuff, effects. Would you buy it again? Did you like all that kind of jazz? There's a QR code on the back of the packaging. We get a ton of these, and you don't
things to fill out. Do it. You just literally be like, hey,
we put it out there. Well, as a thank you, we do like a weekly raffle for a gift card. You know what I mean? But people
genuinely want to.
Yes, because they want
to have good week.
Yeah, they say, shit, I really like Strawberry Days. Like, this is awesome. Grow this. Keep growing this. Or I didn't really care about this one as much. You know what I mean? And so certain of those strains will make their way into individualized CommCan packaging, and some will go to Hello High, and some may drop off. But yes, there is a progression. We have certain strains sort of, we'll call them evergreen strains, which they're always on our menu. They're all, for the foreseeable future, right? Chief among them are sour in our particular cut of GMO. And then we have a handful of others that have always been top performers for us. Lava Dog, Valley Vixen. And then, so those will be there, but there has been sort of a natural progression where it drops, if the data doesn't support it anymore,
You're tired.
we either move it down. If it's still a good grower, like we have certain strains, GMO, for instance. GMO is one of our best-selling cuts. GMO is a fucking nightmare to grow, right? It just takes a long time to finish, right? It goes 72 plus days,
Wow.
right? And it doesn't produce a ton of weight, right? If that particular plant fell off the face of the earth, nobody wanted to buy it anymore. It would not go to Hello High first. It would just be gone.
It's a pain in the butt.
It costs more to grow it than anything, than other strains. You know what I mean?
But
But
love it. So
right, but then but let's say Cuban Links, sales fell off, but it's still a great plant to grow and it produces, right? We're commercial agriculture, right? So like it has to actually produce. That might go into Hello High, and then something from Hello High, if it drops off, it'll be gone. And then the next hottest thing is coming out and kind of finding a hole.
So because that's, again, going back to the wholesale side, like that's what flower is what I hear about a lot from you guys. And it's like the feedback that I get from even my team is just like, they grow the best flower route. So when it comes to the cookies deal though, did they seek you out? Did you go, like, was it an MJ Biz? Like,
Never.
have you been to MJ Biz?
No.
Yeah. Any interest?
No.
Like, how did that come up about the cookies deal?
So Cookies signed a multi-state deal with an operator here in Massachusetts that also was operational in Illinois, I want to say. And that was part of the package that they would introduce cookies to those two markets.
Mm-hmm.
People, if this is, for industry people that are watching this, who the operator is. I don't need to, go into it.
Yeah.
They were unhappy with the product that was grown for them, right? So that launch never really, they let them sort of quietly blast out, one harvest of it, but it wasn't sort of considered a launch. They never really supported it, and people forgot about it pretty quickly. They reached out to us after that, and sort of the connection is Jamie, who we've mentioned several times. When Jamie was an undergrad out in, San Francisco, he had a part-time gig at a coffee shop or some kind of cafe out there. And one of his employees was like a 16-year-old kid who grew up to be Burner. So
That's why our connection.
Yeah. So that's the history that sort of got us the phone call. Like, hey, we know Jamie's in Massachusetts. We want a new operator. We want a new cultivator in Massachusetts. Maybe there's something there, and that's how it got put together.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so, is it exclusive? You guys, the exclusive growers at this? That's what it is. Okay. So, any cookies that are out in the market that's grown by you guys?
Yeah, they had another cultivator. So, cookies are a weird thing, right? There's Cookies Retail, which used to be called Cookies Retail. Now it's called TRP. And so they had a lot of sway. At one point, they were uncomfortable having one grower.
Then they like a plan B, just
Yeah,
because they already got burnt that first time.
yeah. Well, they were difficult at the beginning, and they were unaccustomed to not having total control over the grower, which in the original contract was something called Appendix D that my contract I got rid of before I signed it, and I was the only operator in the state that did that, and they were uncomfortable with that, so they pushed for a second grower.
That will mean that they want to put their own cultivator in it, even though
No, they wanted to, that addendum gave them authority to set price, what I would charge, how much they could, how much canopy I had to have, all that kind of stuff. I was uninterested in having that kind of control exerted over us. So that was part of our agreement. So they pushed and there was a second cultivator for a period of time that didn't go great for them. So they ended that relationship, and then it's been us ever since.
Do you look for other brand partners? Do you even, because you already have your own brands, like, would you be interested in ever taking anybody else?
So we have,
what was this? Is Gummers that you've done?
So, originally we were producing Vibe, which was, so Vibe was
YBE or
VYB. Yeah.
VYB.
Yeah. Shout out Adam Gendro, buddy. So Adam was an original, true original in Massachusetts. So a lot of these guys all came together at a group called Airmont in Quincy, if you remember. Yeah, Airmont, right?
So a lot of history coming to us.
So Jamie was the grower over there, right? That was his first grow that he did in Massachusetts. This guy, so Adam was the head of the lab. Seth, who's still in the industry, was, in the front of the shop. A guy named Keith was running the kitchen. And so they were a super talented group of folks. And then I met Jamie. Jamie came over. Eventually, Adam came over, set up our lab for us. He was our first sort of lab director. He's since moved to Ohio. My head of operations, Megan, came from over there as well. Because that group fizzled. It was, so there was
Other problems.
Yeah, there were other problems. But talent wise, it wasn't. There was no problem there. And so we, capitalized on that. But yeah, that's.
So other brands though, are you thinking about? Like,
so you're saying, so you said, I'm sorry. So you said Adam had his own brand. So it was really the first standalone brand in Massachusetts. Was Vibe. And they were guns.
Everybody was vertical and they were making their own.
Well, the original regs, you weren't allowed to, right? The original regulations, there was no
came through and did the whole.
No, until Neta decided to do whatever they wanted to do. 100%. We owe it that piece. There is a little bit of gratitude that goes to those guys, because up until that point, if you wanted a chocolate bar, right, you got a good feels chocolate bar, right? You know what I mean? You got a whoever it was, chocolate chip cookie. You know what I mean?
The company,
right?
Chip cookie.
Yeah, because you weren't. The regs explicitly said everything had to be branded by the name of your business, the name on the door, right?
I feel like I'm living in you're getting a history lesson.
Yeah,
I didn't even heard of that before.
So Neta came around, and they were operators, right? So Neta was operationally they were Colorado, financially they were Massachusetts. So their backing was a guy here, but the operators were from out of state, and they knew what the market was gonna look like
because they saw it.
Yeah. So now for the first time you got a dose bar, stuff like that.
The first brand then.
Yeah. Though the first store brand that wasn't named after a store was out of Neta from my remembering of it.
What year was that around? Do you remember? 2019?
It was before us, because I think they were operational in that first round. Yeah, so probably like 2017, 2018, something like that.
Okay.
I'd imagine.
So, but what about the future?
So the future,
I have people calling you up right now, be like, hey, let's do something.
Yes. So we said no to a great many. And again, I don't know if it was...
Cookies has a big name, obviously, too. So people are like, who does cookies? I want that.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. And we sell a tremendous amount of cookie in our stores. And, it could be like in Millis, maybe the, maybe the 60-year-old guy doesn't know that cookies is, has sort of this, this hip hop culture behind it. They just know it smells good, tastes good, looks good, has great effect, right? But then in our Rehoboth store, which is, very close to the Providence, city limits, it's people are much more aware, culturally of what the brand is, right? But we were approached, and again, I'm quite sure that I've made every mistake possible. And this is by no means don't base your business decisions on anything we've ever done. Because I'm quite sure I'm sure I'm still doing it wrong. It would be complete hubris to think like I've already made all of the mistakes. It's impossible. It's probably a mistake to be here today. So
we'll see a backlash.
Yeah,
in the comment section.
So we've said no to a ton of groups over the years because I didn't see value in it. We saw value in the cookies partnership. And then you ask about, is there anything else? And there is. Very recently, we've done our sort of second major partnership with a group called Blue River. So Tony Vazura and Blue River, which is, arguably the finest, hash and rosin maker in the country. So we sort of repurposed a flower room, and that's our solventless lab now. And
that's fantastic. Yeah, glad to see that brand continue because I know they closed the stores, they sold the stores to undisclosed.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's great to see Tony and those guys surviving through that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and they're huge. I mean, they're still very much operational in other markets as well. But yeah, it was nice to make sure that what they had here in Massachusetts continued on.
So as we start to wrap, the thing that came up a few times in my head throughout the conversation was, what's next? Are you guys even looking at other states?
No.
You're very much...
We're here.
Commonwealth.
We're locals. Yeah. We're locals. We're again, this is not to say this is the way that things should be done. But we're a good size, right? We're let's call it 120 to 125 people right now, across 3 stores and the grow. We've gotten to a point where I think we're incredibly efficient. I think we do an exceptional job of what we do. I moved into that building, well before it was done being built. You know what I mean? And I've been in that building every day, of every week, basically since we started.
And that was ground up construction.
Yeah. Yeah, we were the first purpose-built cultivation facility in Massachusetts.
And the street is named?
The street is Mark Road. Yes. Yeah. Which was very unimpressive for most of that street's existence. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say in high school, I got a road named after me.
Yeah, but I have a very short dead end cul-de-sac
industrial park
at the end of an industrial park in Medway, Massachusetts. Yeah, it was.
That's your namesake.
Yeah, it did not do much. What's your address? What street are you on?
This one right here.
Yes,
JR,
which is
AYAR.
That's right. Which phonetically is JR. Right, because 2 of my brothers were my brother John Rosenfeld and a brother who has passed away is Joel Rosenfeld. So it's JR in honor of them. Yeah.
That's great to know because every time they explain our address, they're like, so JR, the letters, and I'm like, no, I have to spell it out.
Yeah.
So you phonetically, it was named like that.
Yeah. Well, my father did a long time ago. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that because I was just like, well, it seems like there's only one Mark Road.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of their kids?
My brother Joel had that phone, by the way. That phone was in our house growing up. Absolutely, that same yellow phone.
Well, we found it over there. Maybe it's his. So As we wrap, like any parting advice, wisdom, or do you want to keep it more subtle? Any shout outs you want to give? Anything like
I mean, listen, advice is, I don't know if I've said anything at all beneficial or interesting. I hope it's somewhat interesting, but again, it's a sort of a niche. It's a niche topic. You know what I mean? Like we could do another 1,000 hours on a bunch of other things. You know, but no, the advice is it's not easy. Nothing's easy. Right. You can't think, right? There was a brief period of time, let's call it, you know, COVID. If you were operational during COVID, you probably did okay, right?
definitely spent a few.
People were home. They were getting government checks. They were trying to fill up their days, right? There wasn't the same kind of competition, right? I mean, when we started an eighth, the standard unit for a price for an eighth was $65, right? I think probably the standard now is probably around $25. When we started, bulk wholesale pounds were close to $4,000. Now we're significantly sub $1,000, right? Just don't think that you can sort of half-ass it in any way. And I don't really think you can in any industry, but there was a period of time where this sort of vibe in our industry was kind of swagger can do it, right? Or right. So two ways, right? And this isn't a slight against either one of these things, right? Sort of prior to turning the cameras on, we were talking a little bit about legacy folks, right? And that's great and it's super important. But just because you grew up, making a living, supporting yourself or even your immediate family in a black market situation does not translate into operating in a regulated market. That being said, just because you were a finance guy, you know what I mean, and you understand the intricacies of financial markets and AR and
Yes,
that does not mean that you can be successful in a regulated cannabis market. You just have to, you gotta be there every day. It's really has to be everything you think about all the time, right? It's rewarding and it's exciting and it's interesting. But just like any sort of entrepreneurship, it is absolutely not for everybody. Then I'm not saying like there's any one thing that would keep you from doing it. There's 1,000 fucking things that keep you from doing it. Yeah, it's a goddamn nightmare, and you should get away immediately. No. But you should shop at our stores because we do an exceptional job, and we carry this house
yourself. You could just go to CommCan.
And right. So they say like, right, are you against home grows? No, it was wonderful, good, grow it at home. Am I against fake home grows where you're actually using it as a front to sell illicitly? Yes, I am against that, but I'm not against. I brewed my own beer once. You know what I mean?
Same, yeah.
It's a pain in the, it's fun. It's a hobby.
It's a hobby.
Yeah, but then you end up with, 50 cases of shitty beer. And you can just go to a store and you can deal with 1,000 options for people that have spent their entire lives working on this craft. Yeah. So, but anyway, I have no advice. Everything I've ever done has probably been wrong. And I hope we get to stay in business for another bit.
All right, fantastic. We can end on that one, though. Thanks, Mark.
Awesome.